Okay, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This is an absolute random live stream popping up with our sponsor for tonight's workshop, the Grief and Recovery Workshop. Yes, you heard it right. The Grief and Recovery Workshop that is happening tonight at 6:30 p.m. This is a random, unplanned for y'all, of course, but but when it comes down to this interview, I wanted to hit on an area because the majority of you who are on the newsletter list that are business owners, you're an executive in a higher position when it comes to companies, you have 401k matches, you have so many different things going on. So with all of that being said, I want to introduce Carlotta Thompson, who is the owner of Tax Strategists of America. And I kid you not, this lady is an ex-IRS agent. Okay. Yes, I just said the four-letter word. And so, like, when it comes down to literally everything that she has come from, I know her personally. I know her heart. She is in this because she's passionate about it, not for the money, but for the sake of your money, to help you get out of the stranglehold of when it comes down to taxes. Because let's just be real, there's a lot of areas that us as business owners, those who have different organizations, positions, are struggling with it. They just don't understand how to get out of it because of any kind of taboo or myths that you may have believed in the past. Because here's the thing, when it comes down to taxes, on the other side of our mental health, let's just be real, that is causing stress, guilt, shame in so many different areas. And it's also causing an unnecessary weight that we can actually get past with their help. So I just want to welcome Carlotta Thompson. Thank you so much for making time today. I know they were playing tag quite a bit, but man, it is so good to have you here. I appreciate
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited. Like you said, this is, to me, it's about making a difference. And guys, I run into a lot of people's lives at the IRS unintentionally. And I started Administrate at Night helping business owners pay less tax because I saw it. Like, part of my story is the I don't know your audience well enough to know if they're okay with this, but
no, please share your
I
story.
saw
Seriously.
people that actually killed their spouse there in the middle of an audit, or like, turn the gun on themselves. Like, it's just, and that's so deep. But if we're talking like grief and stress and anxiety about the IRS, like, it's a real topic.
Well, no,
And
seriously, hit on that though, because
what
that's something that happens so much. My story, part of my story is I contemplated suicide. And it wasn't because of taxes, but it was literally like, please hit on that and expound on with like, what have you seen when you went from, and this is a good way to kick it off,
yeah.
when you were working for the IRS to now, what was that trigger, that starting point for you to go out and be and to really pour into people and serve them in this capacity? What was a lot of those trends that you were seeing? Because this is a very deep audience. That's okay. This isn't taboo. This is the reason why for this, because this is a very deep issue.
Yeah, it's definitely a deep issue. So, I wanted to be an IRS agent because I thought I'd worked at a big box retailer tax firm when I was in college, and I really thought that the IRS, if I went to the IRS, like, I could get onto these accountants that weren't doing their business owners any good. And I really thought the IRS, like, I could make a difference, and I could go there and I could teach and I could change lives. And really, I started systematically ruining their lives. And because business owners don't know what they don't know. Like, when you start a business, IRS doesn't call you up and say, hey, Jeremy, you are now a business owner and this is our expectation. No, they send you to an accountant that really acts like they work for the IRS. They don't help you out. They don't calm your spirit. And it's a very scary experience. And in the middle, then you get audited. They don't help you in an audit. And then you're in this place of, oh my gosh, I did something wrong. The IRS is this big bad person. And they're really not. Okay. That's not really what they're not there to ruin your life. But man, think of how hard you've worked for your business, and then think of getting, $100,000 tax bill. That is devastating. Think of like not even filing for 5 years. Like, there's this brick around your neck, and you just can't outrun it. And you're like, oh, like, I want to get ahead. It's my thought is that business owners want to do what's right. Right? They're not trying to hide the money from the government. They're not trying to do anything wrong. They simply don't know what to do. And they get in this situation that becomes a cycle. And I just want you to know, first of all, the IRS is not there to be this big bad person. But if you don't have the records and you don't have a good accountant, obviously, it can become that. So, number one, get you an accountant that doesn't make you feel shame or guilt or anything. Like they just want to pour their heart out to you and help you get in line, get in order, do the things you need to do. Secondly, don't be afraid of the IRS. They just have a job to do. Okay. Don't be scared of them because your accountant should be your blocker between you and the IRS. So back into, three things happened when I was at the IRS. One, I was in an audit and the business owner told his wife to go get the gun. Like they told me they could make me disappear and no one would ever find me. So it makes you feel, obviously they were just scared.
Yeah, for sure. They're reacting.
Like, we're not going to jail, guys. Like the people that go to the jail are the ones who are trying to do something wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, I had someone shoot their spouse and turn the gun on themselves. And then I had a business owner, which, more than once, but this particular guy, he was sitting across from me and he was crying and he was like, Carlotta, I've done everything. I hired the best accountant. I hired the best lawyer to help with this audit. And you're still going to take everything that I've worked so hard for. And, that wasn't the purpose, right? If he had a better accountant or he deducted everything he was supposed to deduct or he had better record keeping or whatever, it may have been different. But the thing is, he said, the IRS didn't tell me what to do. He said they should require you to take a course before you ever become a business owner. And they're not helpful. And so that's kind of where I got to where I am after that conversation. I really started thinking about like how I can make a difference. And like I said, I started that ministry at night, helping business owners pay less tax because I knew I had to do something because the IRS wasn't going to do anything.
Yeah. And that's something that's heartbreaking. That when it comes, because that's the thing, like, I was raised in the trades and man, there is always a stigma that, the IRS is the big bad boogeyman. And, and that's everyone's stigma. And it's interesting because when you have, and, peace means to make order, right? And that's where it gets really interesting because oh, golly, and that's where my dad was the worst. Like he'd be like, oh, is it a bill? Oh, it's junk mail. Like, come on, man, God dang. But with that arena where people, like when it comes to QuickBooks, when it comes to TurboTax and all these different things, we're not trying to talk bad about any of that. They have their application to it as well. But with where business owners are at when it comes down to just getting things in line, are there any apps that they could use or anything like that just to help, like TaxBot, for example? Like it's one of my favorite. Like, are there any apps that they could just install to track miles, to track different things, to classify? Like, what would you recommend for them to put in place right away? And I got some other questions for you too.
So I'll tell you the biggest thing that people don't understand is the IRS is all about record keeping. Okay. In an audit, most of the time, what is going to get disallowed is anything you don't have records for. And it's funny because there's actually a court case. It's the Cohen rule that was put into place for things like this. The IRS actually has to accept oral testimony, credit card statements, or something like that, like a bank statement, as long as you know what it was for. So like if you have a lot of transactions for Walmart and you can't tell them what the Walmart transaction was for, then they disallow a thing and it's personal, right? But if you were buying StreamYard, for example, that's what we're on today. Like if you were purchasing that, very obvious, that's a business expense. So making sure, first and foremost, making sure if you ever do get audited that you have someone that knows the rules, because most IRS agents don't even know that rule. I didn't when I was an IRS agent.
Wait, hang on, so back up. I'm not gonna let you glaze over that. Say that one more time.
So if you ever get audited, you have to make sure you know that rule, the Cohen rule. Okay. Because most IRS agents don't know that rule. So if
How does
you,
someone navigate around that if the IRS agent doesn't know that? Like,
right, because it's, you have to have an accountant that says, hey, I want to use the Cohen rule and with experience, right? Like, it's insanity. But if you don't have a receipt, they'll be like, oh, it's disallowed. And then, you have to tell them what it was for, because it's not their job to help you find expenses or to help you substantiate your expenses. It's their job to say, okay, you don't have the substantiation for this. And then you have to go back and say, hey, this is oral testimony, is I'm saying this, this, and this. And it's, remember, most IRS agents are they're trained, right? But when they come into the IRS, most of them don't know what a debit and credit is. Okay,
this is
they don't even
fascinating.
know
Like,
accounting.
that's wild.
They get them right out of college, and
That's why they don't have
don't
a
know
soul. I'm
anything.
just kidding. No,
Do what?
I'm messing with you. I said that's why they don't have a soul. No, I'm just
Yeah, exactly. And so I trained IRS agents when I was an IRS agent, and it was ludicrous to me that they didn't even know how to understand. Most of them didn't even know how to understand accounting themselves, and they're accountants. So when you're feeling
that makes sense.
when you're feeling like QuickBooks is overwhelming, or maybe you think, oh, QuickBooks is easy, I go and categorize all the transactions. Because I had this happen yesterday, and a business owner was like, well, I do my own bookkeeping, I categorize all the transactions. And we go in, and his credit card is in the opposite direction, $18,000, which means he didn't take all of his expenses. And I'm like, hey, there's a problem here. You didn't reconcile this. And he's like, oh, I did whatever QuickBooks said to do. So when we're talking softwares, the biggest thing I can tell you is do your bookkeeping. But when you go to do your tax return, have somebody do a review of that and just make sure that you're correct, because there's a lot of things, if you're doing your own books, that you can do wrong. Okay. Honestly, if you're going to have a small business and you can't afford a bookkeeper, I prefer something as easy as Excel, because it's really hard to screw up a piece of paper with income and deductions on it. And so I am almost anti bookkeeping software if you don't have a bookkeeper, because most accountants can't even understand bookkeeping and general ledgers and double entry sets of books. There's definitely no way business owners do, but they think it's like playing a game and they just categorize it and it's all good and it's all in there. And sadly, that's not the case. That's only one part of QuickBooks, is putting the transactions in a category. There's a whole nother side of QuickBooks that most people don't even know about. Okay?
Well, that scares me too, because there's like, how many softwares like QuickBooks, Wave apps, like so many different payment processors.
And I've never seen one correct that someone did on their own without a bookkeeper. Never seen one correct.
Right.
That is scary.
And so that's where, like, even like they supply accountants too, and I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, like I'm taking back from what you said a second ago as well. Like when it came down to them not even being trained, like that blows my mind, because even too, like with these accountants who are being like recommended, a lot of them even too, like man, like I wonder, because my brain up, like from the recruiting and staffing side of stuff, that it kicks in, like where are they qualifying them, where are they vetting them from, what are they doing to get them in there to recommend? Because like you said, the second pair of eyes, man, that's crucial.
Very, very much so. Because when I was at the IRS, you would have to determine if it was the client's fault or the bookkeeper's fault. And everything's always the client's fault, right? The taxpayer's fault, because the accountant's going to blame it on them. But I would just say, did you not even, when I was auditing, I would say, did you not even look at their books? You can tell this is obviously wrong. I mean, not only is it sometimes against you, but a lot of times it's in your favor. Do you know how many transactions a year I find in income that are transfers from your other accounts? So you don't know, you're just going about your business and doing your categorizations, and you might not know, you might accidentally put something in the wrong spot. A lot of people count income that is actually just a transfer.
Right.
Or they'll they'll deduct their credit card payments instead of deducting what they put on their credit card.
Yeah.
It's actually what you put on your credit card, not your payments. So if you run up a $20,000 credit card, you get to deduct what's on there, not when you actually pay that money back.
Yeah.
If
And
you
that's
deduct
what,
it when you pay it back, the IRS disallows it.
well, and that's what's crazy is that with everything that goes on with business owners, like, sorry, my wife's coming to grab the keys. I was like, what's going on? So that's what all that emotion was. But with business owners who have that happen, like, gosh, I can only imagine the mountain of like the pile of so many different things that could, like, are triggered, from the state level down to the local level, from the, like, just from the revenue services, like when it comes down to their business license and all of that. And I mean, that sounds like, excuse my French, but clerical error hell. Like, really, truly, like, because that can even cause stress. Like you were talking about the couple that told his wife to go grab the gun and et cetera. And when it comes down to those who have been victims of that, how in the world can they, aside from hiring you, but like, how in the world can they like take steps mentally to be like, say that, holy crap, like that happened to me. Like that happened to me.
So you have to, it's really, I would say take a course, find we have a course, but this isn't to promote me. Like, just find a course that like tells you what you need to do as a business owner to get your taxes in order. Okay. Because the thing is, we as business owners educate ourselves in so many different ways, right? Like if we want to run Facebook ads, we go educate ourselves on ads. Right. If we want to run, whatever, like we always educate ourselves first. It's very much a part of us. Well, it's funny because you don't educate yourself on your business, on your finances, because it's so scary. And so you turn a blind eye to it. But I'll tell you, the most liberating thing as a business owner is getting your taxes in order, getting your finances in order, in feeling your finances just like you would feel your personal budget. Like we listen to people all the time, like, Dave Ramsey talk about personal budgets, right? Yet for our business, we don't listen. We don't really tune into anything. We just don't even want to hear it. It's just like, it's scary. But remember, guys, it doesn't have to be complicated. If you are a small business, meaning you're making under $100,000 and you're like, I can't really afford a bookkeeper, I just need to do this myself. Yeah. The easiest way to do that is pull up an Excel spreadsheet, run every single thing through your business account. That's another thing. Don't commingle your money, because that is a very big, it's a flag. Not only it will pierce your veil if you're an LLC, like you need a separate business account. And then just run that through. Like, what are my total expenses? What's my total income? And, get all of that in there, write it out, and take it to someone. But it doesn't need to be more complicated than it has to be. So QuickBooks is great if you're going to have someone review that once a year, or you're going to have a bookkeeper. MileIQ is great for mileage. Remember how I said that there's 3 things that you have to have record keeping on: travel, mileage, and meals. Okay. So meals, you have to have the receipt. You have to put on there what you were doing, the purpose, who you were with, and then obviously the date and amount. Secondly, mileage. You have to have a mileage log. The IRS says you have to have a mileage log even if your business is 100% business use. So you need a mileage log. So that's why I use MileIQ. It just tracks everything and I don't have to worry about it. And I like it because there is one in QuickBooks, but it seems to disconnect a lot. And this MileIQ doesn't disconnect. So
does MileIQ integrate with QuickBooks too?
You don't want anything to integrate into QuickBooks because it tracks both your personal miles, your business miles, everything. So you need to be able to go through and put where it goes. But I'm sure after you do that, it'll integrate. But I just want you to be very conscious that you are putting the stuff where it goes.
Now, I was just thinking of ways as far as like to tap it into even an Excel spreadsheet for it to categorize, or even like different ways.
I just do it once a year. I'll go through and I know like what was personal and business because it'll go into an Excel spreadsheet, and then I'll just put it. Plus, like it's a game on there, like where you can like swipe left or right.
Like Tinder.
So it's like gamification of it. Okay, so then on so when you're talking about software, I want to keep it really easy. So you're not going to hear me talk about much software. I like MalaQ. I like QuickBooks if you have a bookkeeping system because it has a double entry set of books. And then third, I use my phone and my Google app and my Drive to store receipts. So if I go to buy something, I snap a picture, throw it in my Google Drive. Once a year, I'll go through my phone and just click all my pictures that are receipts, throw them in there because I don't need receipts until I get audited. So trying to put everything into an app, like, a bot or something like that, to me is overwhelming. Yeah. I want to keep it very simple. So for simplicity, I'll use Excel if you don't have a business if you don't have a bookkeeper, I use Excel. And I'm just going to take my transactions. If you pull them, if you have a bank account, they'll export to a CSV file, put that in, categorize them once a year and be done. So I use Excel, MyLIQ, and QuickBooks if you have a bookkeeper. And Wave is okay. All of them are okay. You just want to make sure that you have something that's double entry. So like GoDaddy Accounting or QuickBooks Self-Employed or whatever, they're not double entry sets. So what happens is you actually, if they become disconnected or they bring in duplicate expenses, because they will do that, there's no way to find them. So that's why you need a double entry set.
That's key. Yeah, that's where and that's what's so unique about it too. Is that's a breath of fresh air because a lot of people are like, I need all this quantum mechanics and everything, from physicians and out of space from Elon Musk. Keep
it simple if you're doing it yourself, because if you're doing it yourself, what's income, what's expenses, and that's what you need to stick to. Because if you start putting all that into QuickBooks and you categorize something wrong, or you put a transfer in your income, now you've duplicated things and you don't even know it because there's no way for you to go back through that's easy for you to understand and say, oh, well, that doesn't look right. So keep it very simple if you are doing it yourself. That's the key.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like to hit on what we were talking about earlier. Say it's hypothetical scenario. Business owner has one company and he's trying to do something else. He's afraid to step out because he's back, say 3 years. What would be the first? And let's just say that he has a year and a half grocery bag of receipts, right? That or a garbage bag, depending on how much he's taking, how much he's stored. But what would you recommend to someone in that status? Like, so and actually, let's throw out another one. They only have a year and a half of receipts, and they have none of the others, and they have different records of stuff, in their bank records, all these other things, the typical scenario. What would you recommend the first step for them to take to get in alignment? Because they're probably thinking, oh God, I'm going to have this massive bill. And they've taken the steps and they've done everything that they can to expense everything, but they haven't reported it. What would you tell them to do right away?
So I would have them report the last year. Like if you are in 2021, report 2020. If you're in 2022, report 2021. That is to get you some momentum, because you do feel this big brick on your shoulder that's weighing you down. And for entrepreneurs, the most important thing is to get momentum and see a result. So you can do that one return. And if you don't have any records, you can pull bank statements, you can pull credit card statements, and the accountant can go through and recreate that the best as possible. You don't need, all of those receipts in that bag. Unless you paid cash for a lot of stuff, I would just go back to the bank and say, I need the bank records, and pull those bank records and just do what's in that bank account, the income, the expenses. Even if it commingled, you can go through and highlight. Okay. And meaning you put your personal and your business together, go through and highlight what's business, and then give it to someone else to enter into an Excel spreadsheet themselves, right? Like it doesn't have to be complicated. But just do something. Hire someone to help you. I don't care what the cost is, because the cost of you not doing it is going to cost you more in your business than doing it. See, most business owners hold themselves back because they're scared of the IRS. So they're always looking over their shoulder, like wondering when they're going to come after them. And that actually holds you back from growing, because you almost want to stay small because you want to be in this corner, because that's our reflex whenever we're scared. You can't grow your business because you're like, well, what if the IRS finds out? So take the first step, do 1 year, then go to the next year and the next year, but get 1 year done, then go move forward. Okay. So like when clients come on and they're, and guys, let me normalize this. It is very normal for an entrepreneur to be 2 or 3 years behind when they first start, because they're scared.
Did y'all hear that? Just say a little louder for those in the back.
It is extremely normal. So I'm going to normalize that. Like, if someone looks at you cross-eyed when you go in because you're 2 or 3 years back, if you go into an accountant, you need to turn around and walk out, because they're not for you. It's very normal for entrepreneurs to be behind when they start their business, because they've usually grown so fast, or they didn't know what they were doing and they were just trying, or they were trying to get their business off the ground and they just got scared, or they didn't know, or they were confused, or whatever. And once you get 1 year behind, it's really easy to get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years behind. So when someone comes in that's behind, the first thing I do is start them up on bookkeeping, because I want them to feel some momentum. So they'll get me the rest of the stuff, because you need to feel the momentum that you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Man, that's good. And that's something too. That's where I am really happy to hear that. And everyone who's seeing this on the replay, a lot of it, what keeps people back is, whatever happens, whatever we've told ourselves, whatever the case is, I mean, heck, there are executives that are in the audience that are at very prestigious companies, engineering, biotech, et cetera, that are going to watch us on LinkedIn, and that have side businesses. A lot of times they get freaked out and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And instead of actually paying the tax bill, they'll shut the business down. Like,
yeah.
Can you go through that and say how big of a mistake that may be, and how, like, really, truly, like, not to dodge a bullet, so to speak, because they're going to encounter a grenade. In that case, just unpack that really quick. Those who have positions with side businesses.
Okay, so first and foremost, my main business is tax strategy and helping you pay zero tax. Okay, so anybody that has a tax bill, like, my whole goal is to get that tax bill down to the least possible, because businesses the whole 99% of the tax code is incentives and credits for businesses and investors. So if you're paying this large tax bill, like, let's be real, you need someone that is on your side helping you pay less, because there's so many incentives for businesses that can do that. Secondly, there is always a payment plan option for you to get in correctly with the IRS. So you closing your business down is not going to make the IRS go away any more than anything else, because even in a bankruptcy, a lot of times that stuff still stands. So you're not getting away from them. You're not hiding from them. If they're going to come after you, they're going to do it whether you're close your business down or not, because they're going to go back 3 years. And it doesn't, like, you have just the same chances. I mean, the same chances of getting audited whether you close the business down or not. The IRS doesn't even know the business is closed. They don't get the notification from the state that says, hey, this business closed down. Like,
they have a worse disconnect than the DMV and
they have the thing is, people think the IRS, like, has these eyes everywhere, and, like, they're just great. They have all these crazy, like, ways to find out information. Really, they don't have anything. Like, they can't access your bank account, so your bank has to give them information if you get anything. Another thing, like, they think that, I know I have clients that, like, maybe are like, they're not documented citizens, and they think, like, ICE can come in. So the IRS is very closed off. Like, They can't turn you into ICE or to social. They can't turn you into anybody. Okay, that would um, that would kill their company so much. I mean, IRS is a company, right? Like they can't get you in trouble with other agencies. They have to remain independent of those agencies. So that's number one. Number two, the systems are so outdated. They're like from the 70s. Okay. Like, you know, those screens that you had where it was like the green typing on the black screen? That's what they have for everything.
Wow.
Okay. So the government systems, we don't have, the IRS did not have like tax returns that look like tax returns. Okay. The return, like putting in all that stuff, it looks like it's from the 70s. It's
at least they can't get hacked.
System. Okay, so another thing is if you ever get audited, you better have somebody make sure that return is correct, because it doesn't like interact with other credits that you qualify for. So pretty much the reports are a joke. They're not like, oh, this would affect this. No, it's like they made this change. Who knows what else it affects, because their system is not set up like a account, like a tax prep system, like TurboTax, right? Like they've got this sophisticated system. IRS didn't have that. It's like these were the transactions that they changed. This is the dollar amount. It's barely figures the percentage right. So the IRS is not this big bad company that has great systems. They don't have hardly any systems that are going to find you things. They're really good at finding income because they, you know, you see how like now they're cracking down on like the $600 thing going through Venmo or whatever. That's really all they have. They only get income, and it comes from your bank or a system that's over 600, or you know, now they can't get it, but they want to be able to get it. So that's why they're doing the $600.
I know we've gone well over our time, and I appreciate you carving the time today. No, you're good. And that's where I'm thinking that, because I want to hit on that, and then we can wrap up the show. But like, can you hit on that? Because that's one of the biggest things that has been, I think, haunting a lot of people through Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all of that. Like when it comes down to that side of it, you know, there's a lot of media that's been trying to, you know, just really incubate fear. You know, that's where they're trying to get people in survival mode and fight or flight mode, and trying to get them in a reactionary state of mind. And with all of that happening, there's been a lot of stigma around, you know, the IRS is going to come after you just because your income, heck, you get someone sends you $1,000, you're screwed. Like what is all that stigma? Can you kind of break that down and kind of demystify it? Because a lot of folks are freaking out.
Yeah, it doesn't change the tax law. Like, it doesn't make anything more taxable or less taxable. Pretty much, if you have a business, you're supposed to report the income no matter what the IRS knows about, right? So whether it's on a 1099 or whether it's not or whatever. So it's not going to change the tax code of like, oh, somebody reimbursed me for something, now that's taxable. Or, you know, I've got this, I put some money in the bank from an inheritance, or it doesn't change the tax code. And that's one of the biggest things that people are like, oh, well, now income's, you know, taxable that is not taxable. Okay. Your business income is taxable no matter if it's on a form or not. So you should be keeping up with that. But other than that, it doesn't change anything. Really, it just gives the IRS the way to find the income that you're not reporting. It's really for people who are trying to dodge the IRS and not pay their fair share. Okay. And our goal is to always to report our income and then get it on the deduction side of like zeroing that baby out because of tax strategy. We never want to underreport our income because that's fraud, right? So we want to report everything that we're supposed to, which is just business income. It's not like, oh, I got a reimbursement or sold this, you know, shirt I paid $20 for $2. Like that's not what this is for. It doesn't change the tax law at all. All they want to do is find the people who are not reporting, which hopefully all of you are, because we want to make sure that if we do a tax return that we're doing it correctly. Did you guys know that it is actually harder for the IRS to prove that you're fraudulent? It's better for you not to file a tax return than to file a wrong tax return for income.
Makes sense.
If you don't file a tax return, it is very hard for them to put you in jail. CI won't even go after you with just criminal investigation because you didn't file anything. But if you file a return and you put the wrong income on there, or you exuberated your expenses by like making up stuff that you just made up, they can actually put you to jail. So if you put you in jail, so if or try to crime, it's a crime. So I'm going to tell you, if you're going to dodge the IRS or you're going to file fake returns, just don't file at all, because they're going to like it's illegal to file a wrong tax return. Okay, so I said all that to say. I said all that to say, let's make sure that we're reporting all of our income and then using tax strategy to reduce that down to hopefully zero, where you're actually not paying taxes that you shouldn't be paying, because we're using things like real estate, cost segregation, hiring your kids, accountable plans, stuff like that, that are actually legitimate expenses.
Man, and that's so key. And that's something that, man, I appreciate you carving out time today, because this is something we could talk for days. You're a fountain of wisdom. Like, goodness gracious, man. I hope those who've watched this and we're going to catch the replay have some more peace of mind when it comes to this. And this isn't drinking the Kool-Aid, y'all. And if you start to troll the comments, I will troll you back. Believe me. And one of the biggest things is that your heart shines through. And that's one of the biggest things, and I think it's a perfect segue, because I appreciate you and your company being able to sponsor the workshop for this evening, and being able to have your webinar later on this week as well on the 5th. And that's something that with there's no pressure, no strings attached, nothing whatsoever. There's no GPS tracking on it, so all y'all who are out there paranoid, don't worry about it. And so and the biggest thing is, for that webinar where people are they can register, there's a link in the first comment of wherever this video is at. You're seeing it on social media. It's on 4 different platforms in about 8 different places. And if you just go register, there's literally no strings attached. It's educational, so that way you can have understanding. And that's one of the biggest things in the Proverbs. It says that seek it above all else, seek understanding, right? And that's where this comes into play, because at the end of the day, if you want to grow genuinely, you have to get your taxes and bookkeeping in line, because at the end of the day, that will hang you. Because if it's give the dog enough leash, he'll hang himself, right? And that's where you want to make sure that you're not running at full speed, and the next thing you know, you get yanked back, and that's never a good experience. Just ask a dog, like, no joke, and ask a pit bull. But like, it is where you want to make sure you have everything in your in place and on your team and on your side. And that's where Carlotta comes in with her team of Tax Strategists of America. And I kid you not, she's the same on screen as she is behind the scenes, and I promise you that her team is equally incredible. Brooke, Savannah, them that are just there. And there's plenty more that are on her team, but those are the folks that more likely you'll be talking with and while getting enrolled. And so, Carlotta, thank you again for carving out time today. I know that you have an extremely busy schedule, and anyone who needs to connect with you, they can connect with you through any kind of way. We've added everything on there. And if you haven't registered for the Grief and Recovery Workshop that is happening tonight at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, definitely go there. It is free also, because I want you to walk away with peace and understanding, just like with Carlotta as well. Because at the end of the day, there are things that have happened over the years that may not have been your responsibility, but it is our responsibility to take action right now and to do the work for ourselves internally, so that way we can live a better life for those around us, because those who are still here still matter, and those who have passed on have passed the torch to you, and it's time that we get your head back in the game. All right. And so again, Carlotta, thank you again. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with? Is just a tidbit of takeaway?
I would just say our webinar is focused on how to pay zero tax legally. And remember that there's definitely legal ways for you to not pay taxes by using the tax strategies and tax incentives that the IRS already has available for you that you just don't know about. And that is where I'm really passionate. I want to make sure that you guys are getting everything done, but I don't want you to pay more than your fair share. And I always say, the media attacked Trump for not paying taxes, and really just use tax strategy. And if I was his accountant, he would have gotten a refund. So let's just know that it's totally okay to have a business and not pay taxes legally, because you're doing the work that the government needs you to do with your money, by hiring people, by buying equipment, by doing the things that the government would otherwise have to do. So we want to make sure that you understand, as a business owner, that there are definitely lots of ways to help you pay less tax, no tax, legally, and that's what we're here to help you do.
Awesome. Again, everyone, if you tuned in, make sure you catch the replay. This is the end of the show. I'm over getting tongue-tied. But again, Carlotta, thank you for carving out time. And y'all go join the webinar that's coming up on the 5th. Register for tonight. It's not too late. We still have some spots open. But we're going to be going on Zoom and talking about all of the stuff and unpacking it, just like with Carlotta's webinar. And you guys are amazing for tuning in. Thank you so much. Drop a comment. Let me know where you watched from. And looking forward to seeing you guys tonight and seeing you on the 5th. If this is a good fit for you, look forward to seeing you on there. Y'all have an amazing rest of your day. And thank you again, Carlotta, for carving out time.
Thank you. We appreciate you.